Where in the world without a path to guide him. He climbed and climbed, and little King Armor slept soundly in the folds of his grey robe. They reached the summit at last, and pushing through a jungle of twisted vines covered with pale, sweet-scented buds, he stood looking at the castle. It was set on the very topmost crag, and looked out over the mountain's edge at the sea, the sky, and the spreading plains below. The sky was dark blue now, and lit by many stars. All was so still that the world seemed thousands and thousands of miles away. The ugliness and squalor, along with many people who quarrelled, seemed like things that were not true at all. A sweet, cool wind blew about them as the Ancient One took King Armor from the folds of his grey robe and laid him on the carpet of scented moss.
"The stars are very near. Waken, young king, and see how near they are, and know that they are your brothers. Your brother the wind is bringing you the breath of your brothers the trees. You are at home."
Then King Armor opened his eyes, and when he saw the stars and the dark blueness above him, he smiled, and though he was not yet a whole day old, he threw up his small hand until it touched his forehead.
Like a king and a soldier he salutes them. Yet he does not know he did it.
The castle was huge and splendid, though it had been deserted for 100 years. For 3 generations the royal owners had not cared to look on the world from these high places. They knew nothing of the wind, or the trees, or the stars. They lived on the plains below, in their cities, and they hunted and rioted and laid heavy taxes on their wretched, poor people. The castle had lived through its summers and winters all alone. It had high battlement walls and towers that stood out against the clear sky. There was a great banquet hall and chambers for hundreds of guests, and rooms for 1,000 men-at-arms. The courtyard was big enough for a tournament. In the midst of the large space and splendour, the little King Armor lived alone, but for the companionship of the Ancient One, and a servant as old as himself. But they knew a secret that had kept them young in spite of the years they had lived. They knew that they were the brothers of all things in the world, and that the man who never knows an angered or evil thought can never know a foe. They were strong and straight and wise. The wildest creature stopped to give them greeting as it passed, and they understood its language when it spoke. Because they held no dark thoughts in their minds, they knew no fear, and because they knew no fear, the wild creatures knew none, and the speech of each was clear to the other. Each morning they went out on the top of the battlements at dawn to see the splendid sun rise slowly out of the purple sea. One of the very first things the child King Armor remembered in his life, and he remembered it always, was a dawning day when the Ancient One wakened him gently. Then he folded him in his long grey robe and carried him up the winding, narrow stone stairway until at last they stepped forth on the top of the huge castle. It seemed to the little one to be so high that it was quite close to the wonderful sky itself.
The sun is going to rise and wake the world. Young king, watch the wonder of it.
Armor lifted his little head and looked out. He was only just old enough to be beginning to